My name is Edith Calloway. I am 67 years old. At my own birthday dinner this past April, my daughter-in-law picked up my late husband's fountain pen from the buffet table, held it across the flowers toward me, and said, "Found this in the study. Thought you might want to keep it with you." She said it the way you hand something to a person who is being moved out. 11 people heard her say it. My son was 2 chairs away. He looked at his water glass. 20 days later, I drove alone to a building on Sycamore Street at 8 in the morning with a manila folder on the passenger seat, and I spent the better part of a day doing something so methodical and so quiet that the receptionist apologized twice for the wait. I told her there was no hurry. I meant it. I had waited long enough that a few more minutes did not cost me anything. Victor and I bought the house at 14 Ridgecroft Lane in Millbrook, Ohio, on a cold Tuesday in March of 1989. Pale yellow siding, green door, a maple in the front yard that drops enough leaves every October to fill a wheelbarrow twice over. We paid $47,000 down, and both of us were frightened of the mortgage. Victor was a history teacher at Millbrook High. I had been in the accounting department at Brennan Industrial Supply for 2 years. Processing invoices, filing vendor statements, learning the shape of numbers the way you learn the shape of a room you work in every day. I stayed at Brennan Industrial for 35 years. I started as an accounts payable clerk, and I left as senior controller. The job meant I signed my name on things that mattered: audit certifications, tax filings, payroll authorizations, bank reconciliations. At the end, I was signing roughly 40 times a week. And I had made it a rule since my first year as a manager that every signature went on a straight line, because a signature that drifts is a signature that invites questions, and I had spent long enough answering questions that I did not want to manufacture new ones. I retired June 30th, 2021. Victor died 11 months later, Sunday morning in May, in his recliner, with the newspaper across his lap and a cup of coffee going cold on the side table. He was 71. We had been married for 51 years. The pen on the buffet table, the black Parker with the gold clip and his initials VKC stamped into the metal, is the thing I have kept on the desk in the study since the day he died. Not because I use it for ordinary things. Because it was his, and it is mine now, and some objects earn the right to sit in one place and not be moved. My son Colin is 43. He owns a landscaping and lawn maintenance company with a rental yard on the east side of town. He has been running it for 12 years. His wife Monica is 41. She sells residential real estate. She is good at it, quick, persuasive, knows the market, and she has always known what my house is worth. She has told me twice, in that conversational way she has, not quite asking, not quite not. Their daughter is Lily. She is 15, and she is the reason I still set a place at the table for Christmas. In October of 2022, I had my right hip replaced. I was in the hospital for 3 nights, in outpatient physical therapy for 11 weeks, and housebound to some degree for the better part of 3 months. Colin drove me to early appointments. Monica stocked my refrigerator and kept a calendar on the door updated with my therapy schedule. They were genuinely helpful. And I want to say that because it is true, and because I think stories like this one tend to flatten people. And these people are not flat. On the 5th day of my hospital stay, a patient services coordinator brought a notary to my room, and I signed a durable power of attorney naming Colin as my agent. It authorized him to manage financial transactions on my behalf, communicate with my bank and my brokerage, handle what needed handling, while I was in no condition to handle it myself. He drove me home when I was discharged. He carried my bag inside. I thanked him. I filed the POA document in the second drawer of the desk in the study, and I did not think about it again. I did not revoke it when I could walk without holding the wall. I did not revoke it when I could drive again in January. I did not revoke it when I went back to managing my own accounts, scheduling my own appointments, living my own life exactly as I had been living it. I filed it. And I forgot about it, because I had trusted the person whose name was on it, and sometimes trusting a person means you stop checking the document. That is the thing I would do differently. Not the trust, the checking. Colin called on a Thursday evening in February and asked whether I had given any thought to simplifying my financial picture. He said it in that careful voice people use when the question is not quite as casual as it sounds. Had I updated my beneficiary designations? Were all my accounts still at Fidelity? Did I feel like I had a good handle on everything? I said yes to all of it, and told him I would let him know if anything changed. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table for a while. A son who is simply thinking ahead asks broad questions. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Should we sit down with a financial planner together? A son who has already been looking at something specific asks about beneficiary designations and account locations. I knew the difference between those two conversations, and I sat with the one I had just finished, and I put it next to the one from November when he had asked for the phone number of Victor's pension office, and I thought about what they added up to. In my line of work, when two things don't line up by accident, you look for a third. April 14th, my birthday. Colin and Monica offered to host dinner at my house. Your dining room seats 12 comfortably, Monica said. Ours only seats 8. She arrived at 10 in the morning with a tablecloth I had never seen, flowers in a vase from her car, and a roasting pan she set on my counter as though she had always put it there. By noon, my kitchen was being run by someone else, which is something that gets easier every year to simply accept. Monica's mother drove in from Dayton. She sat at the head of the table. That is Victor's chair. And it was Victor's chair from 1989 until May of 2022. And for 2 years after he died, nobody placed a setting in it. And then at Lily's birthday party that spring, Monica moved a plate into it without asking, and I said nothing. Because the sentence it would have cost me was not worth the dinner it would have interrupted. I sat at the kitchen end. Monica always puts me there because of my hip. It means fewer steps to the bathroom, fewer steps to the back door. She is right about that. She is right about it in the particular way that makes it difficult to refuse. There were 11 of us, Colin and Monica. Lily, Monica's mother, Monica's brother, who I had met twice before, 2 couples from their neighborhood, my friend Millie, who I have known since the 90s, and me. At 7 o'clock, Monica stood up with her wine glass. She said she wanted to take a moment, not just to celebrate my birthday, but to celebrate a family that thinks ahead together. She talked about how much she and Colin had been thinking about my future. She mentioned the house. She mentioned the market and how remarkable property values in Millbrook had become. She mentioned that the yard was getting to be a lot for one person, that the winters here were harder every year, that she had looked into a 55-plus community out on Route 40 that had a dining hall and organized activities and a shuttle to appointments. She said it was worth a conversation. Millie looked at me from across the centerpiece. I looked at nothing in particular. Then Monica reached to the side buffet and picked up Victor's pen. She held it across the table toward me. Found this on the desk when I was getting things organized, she said. Didn't want it to get lost in the shuffle. She smiled when she said shuffle. I took the pen. I held it in my right hand. I said thank you. I did not say anything else for the rest of the evening, not because I was stunned. I was not. But because the dinner had just told me the last thing I needed to know, and a person who thinks you have accepted their terms will tell you things. Monica told me a great deal that night. She just thought she was celebrating. The evening ended. Lily hugged me at the door and held on a second longer than necessary. I watched the headlights leave the driveway. Then I went to the study and I sat at the desk and I wrote 3 items on a notepad and put it in my purse. I have been writing things down my whole professional life. I have never once regretted putting something in writing, and I have regretted, more than once, not doing it. Let me tell you what turned up in my mailbox 3 days later. A letter from Fidelity. Standard account notice, mandatory mailing to account holder of record, automatic, no exception. A distribution request had been submitted against my traditional IRA. $90,000. Reason listed. Elder care expenses. Submitted by Colin Calloway, authorized agent, durable power of attorney, on file dated October 14, 2022. The distribution had not yet processed. Under Fidelity's policy, the account holder has 5 business days to contact them with questions. I read it at the kitchen table with my coffee still hot. I set it face up on the wood, and I sat with it the way I used to sit with a ledger that had stopped making sense. Not angry, not panicked, just attentive. The way you sit with a number that is wrong before you write down why it is wrong. Here is something you need to understand about a traditional IRA withdrawal, because it matters. A $90,000 distribution counts as ordinary income in full for that tax year. The default federal withholding is 10%, which means a $9,000 bite at the source. But the actual tax liability is higher because that amount of income moves you into a bracket where you owe more at filing. After withholding and the bill that comes in April, I would net somewhere around $67,000 from a $90,000 withdrawal. Someone had researched this far. They had not researched quite far enough. That gap told me something. I want to stop here for one moment because I have heard from enough people in situations like this that I know some of you are sitting in your own kitchens right now trying to remember whose name is on your power of attorney. If you signed one in a hospital, at a closing, during any season when you needed someone to step in, go find it this afternoon. A durable power of attorney stays active when you are healthy and capable. A springing power of attorney activates only when a doctor certifies you cannot act for yourself. Those two words, durable and springing, are the difference between what happened to me and what you can prevent. Check which one you signed, then check whose name is on it. Drop a comment when you do, and subscribe because the part that ended all of this is still ahead. I called Fidelity at 8:15 the next morning, the moment they opened. I gave them my account number and told them I was the account holder calling to report that the pending distribution request had not been authorized by me and that I needed an immediate hold placed on all account activity pending further instructions. They transferred me to their account protection team. I held for 9 minutes. The representative took down every word I said and read it back to me and confirmed that the hold was effective as of that call, that nothing would process, and that I would have written confirmation within 2 business days. I wrote his name on the notepad. Then I called my attorney. Adrienne has practiced elder law and estate planning in Millbrook for 20 years. Her office is on the 2nd floor of a building on Center Street, above a travel agency. I had worked with her when Victor died, deed transfers, updated will, the paperwork that comes when a life shared for 50 years becomes a life that is only yours. She is direct, she is thorough, and she does not let you leave her office without understanding exactly what you signed. She read everything I brought her. Then she set her glasses down and said, "Walk me through the pension." Victor taught history at Millbrook High for 31 years. When he died, his retirement through the State Teachers Retirement System of Ohio converted to a survivor benefit, $1,640 a month, direct deposited to my checking account on the 1st of every month. A survivor benefit from STRS Ohio is paid to the named survivor and cannot be assigned, redirected, or moved to a joint account after the fact. You cannot sign it over. You cannot put it somewhere else. It follows the named person, and it ends when that person ends. Colin had called the pension office in November, identifying himself as my son, asking whether the benefit could be redirected to a new account. The office noted the inquiry and sent nothing further because there was nothing further to send. The answer to that question is written into the plan document, and it does not change based on who asks. Adrienne folded her hands. "He asked about your IRA and your pension in the same season," she said, "and he had a power of attorney with his name on it." "Yes," I said. "We are going to fix that today." Here is what the next 6 hours looked like, because I think it matters to say it plainly. It was not complicated. It was only thorough. Adrienne drafted a revocation of the durable power of attorney. I signed it at her desk with Victor's pen. I had brought it in my purse because some documents deserve the right instrument. She notarized it. We made 4 certified copies. One went to Fidelity by overnight courier. One went to Fifth Third Bank, where I hold my checking and savings accounts. One went to the STRS pension office in Columbus, certified mail, return receipt requested. One went into my file with Adrian. At the bank, I sat down with the branch manager and asked her to remove Colin's name from the emergency contact designation on my savings account. He was not a signer. My accounts have always been in my name alone. But an emergency contact paired with an active power of attorney is a door I did not intend to leave open, and I was in the business of closing doors that afternoon. I called Fidelity a second time from Adrian's parking lot and updated my beneficiary designations. Since Victor's death, my IRA had listed my estate as the primary beneficiary, a placeholder I had told myself I would update and had not. I named Lily directly. She is 15, which means the funds would pass to a custodial account in her name. I named Millie as the custodian. I wrote everything down. I mailed a letter to the STRS pension office, 2 sentences, certified, with a green return receipt card. The power of attorney was revoked. No third party was authorized to make inquiries on my behalf. All correspondence to come to me at my home address only. I was home by 5 o'clock. I made a cup of tea and sat in Victor's recliner with the Parker pen in both hands and thought about something Adrian had said when I was putting my coat on to leave. She said most people come to her after something has already happened. I told her I understood the feeling. Then I drove home and I did not cry because what I felt was not grief. It was the flat, particular satisfaction of a ledger that finally balances. 9 days later, on a Saturday morning, 2 cars pulled into my driveway. Colin came in first. Monica followed behind him. Her mother waited by the car with her purse on her arm, which is something people do when they want you to know they are not staying. "Mom!" Colin's voice had the careful tone it gets when he is trying not to show that he is not calm. "What did you do?" "I updated my accounts," I said. Monica came past him into the kitchen and folded her arms. She said they had been trying to help me plan. She said the money was just sitting there. She said the birthday dinner was the beginning of a conversation, not the end of one, and that I was making something simple into something it did not need to be. "You submitted a distribution request from my retirement account without asking me," I said. "Using a power of attorney I signed in a hospital bed." My son looked at the kitchen floor. He grew up on that floor. He learned to read at that table. I have thought about both of those things a great deal since, and I have thought about them without changing what I said next. "The POA is revoked," I said. "The distribution was blocked. The accounts are in order. Going forward, anything concerning my finances comes to me in writing." Monica said the house was worth over $500,000 and that I was living here alone, and that was a significant asset for one person to be managing without a plan. I picked up Victor's pen from the counter where I had set it. "I have been managing significant assets since before you had your real estate license," I said. "I know what I have, and I know what I signed, and I know what was not signed. You should be very glad the distribution did not go through, because a POA agent who misrepresents the account holder's wishes to a financial custodian is not standing on comfortable ground." I was not making a threat. I was describing the room they were standing in. There is a difference, and I think Monica understood it, because she was on her phone before she reached the back steps. I watched the 2 cars back out of the driveway. Then I washed my cup in the sink and stood at the kitchen window for a while. The calls dropped off after that. Then they stopped more completely, the way things do when the structure someone built around a document no longer has the document holding it up. Millie told me in July that Colin had returned the commercial cutting equipment to the finance company and moved his operations to a smaller yard off Route 36. She heard it from a woman in her book club. I did not call him about it. He did not call me. Monica left her brokerage in the fall. I heard it from the woman at my dry cleaner, which is how you hear most things in a town this size. I wrote Colin a letter in January. Regular mail, 1 stamp, no return receipt. Because I was done collecting evidence for myself and had only ever kept it when it served a purpose, and a letter to my son about what I was sorry for did not need a paper trail. 2 paragraphs. The first one said I was sorry for any year in which I had made the finances of this family feel like a weight he was expected to carry on my behalf. I had never meant for it to read that way, and I was not sure I had ever said so plainly enough. The second was shorter, because boundaries get weaker the more words you put on them. It said that anything involving my accounts, my house, or my pension was to come to me in writing, and that the kitchen door at Ridgecroft Lane was where it had always been, open to my granddaughter any day she wanted to walk through it, with nothing required in exchange. Lily texted me on the first Saturday in February at 9 in the morning and asked if she could come over. She rode her bike the 4 miles through February air. She came in with red ears and a backpack and said it was colder than it looked outside. I know, I said. Come in. She had a personal finance assignment. Her teacher had given the class a unit on budgeting and bank accounts and something called beneficiary designations. She said no one had ever actually explained to her what a beneficiary designation did, just that you were supposed to fill one out. We sat at the kitchen table for 2 hours. I explained what a traditional IRA is and why a large distribution in a single year costs more than people expect. I explained what a durable power of attorney gives someone and why you should know which kind you sign and whose name is on it. I explained why a beneficiary form on a financial account overrides a will, that if the form says one thing and the will says another, the form wins. Every time, because it is the most recent expressed intent on file with the institution holding the money. She took notes in pencil on a yellow legal pad, the kind I have kept in the drawer by the stove since 1991. When she was done, she held out her hand for a pen. I reached across the table and gave her the Parker. She looked at the initials on the gold clip. VKC, she knew whose they were. She looked up at me. Practice making your signature go in a straight line, I said. A signature that drifts is a signature that invites questions. She pressed the tip to the paper and signed her name. Then she signed it again, a little straighter. Then again. 7 times until she liked the way it looked. I watched her, and I thought about Victor in his recliner with the newspaper and the cold coffee. I thought about 35 years of audit certifications. I thought about a hospital room in October of 2022 where I signed a document I meant to revisit and did not, and about a birthday dinner where someone pressed a pen across a table thinking it was a parting gift. She had no idea what that pen had meant in the hands that held it for 50 years. She had no idea what it meant in mine. The pen did not know any of that. It only goes where it is directed. And that, if there is a lesson here, is the whole of it. Not that your family will always disappoint you, because they will not always, and sometimes they do it for reasons you can understand, and sometimes for reasons you cannot. Just this, know what you have signed. Know who has authority over what is yours. Know the word durable and know the word springing, and know the difference before you need to. Check the beneficiary designations on your accounts the way you check a smoke detector. Not because you are expecting a fire, but because the cost of checking is 1 afternoon, and the cost of not checking has a number on it. The Parker pen is back on the desk in the study, right where Victor left it. I bought a Pilot G2 for the kitchen drawer, for the everyday things. The Parker is for the things that matter. Thank you for being here at Brave Mom Stories. If anything I said made you want to look at your paperwork today, please do it before tonight, and drop me a comment. Tell me what you found. I read every single one. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.